But it's a real answer to the people who needed childcare.
The debate, no doubt, will continue when the details are published, but thank you both for joining us. Now, the word drug can refer to a medicine or to an illegal narcotic, but what happens when it's both? Campaigners for medical marijuana argue that it's the only substance that can treat some serious conditions. Opponents warn that making it legal could cause serious problems. Richard Downs has been hearing both sides of the argument.
Cannabis, marijuana, it's been around forever, but was only outlawed in the 1970s.
Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
Times change, and as more claims are made about the medicinal benefits of cannabis, people are travelling to the States and calling for change here.
Do you want your son stoned, or do you want him in hospital having seizures? He's not stoned. He can't get stoned from the medication.
But what type of legislation? Many doctors here are against a free-for-all.
There's a whole regulatory framework before a drug comes to the market that proves that it's effective and safe. And unfortunately, the cannabis thing has not gone through that.
Not good enough, say the campaigners, who want whole cannabis to treat a variety of medical conditions.
Why not help those patients who are currently in the tens of thousands, who are currently either breaking the law or faced with the dilemma to emigrate?
We've heard an awful lot about the harm that cannabis can do, particularly high-strength varieties and the impact on young brains in development. But because of changes in the law in the United States, Irish parents are doing something that they never thought they'd do. They're medicating their very young, ill children with cannabis. Tristan Ford from West Cork is 2 years old and suffers from a rare and severe disease. He has Dravet's syndrome, an extreme form of epilepsy, and a condition that became apparent soon after birth. Tristan is one of about 100 children in Ireland suffering from the disease. An infant can have a dozen seizures in a day and more while asleep.
What's wrong with Tristan? Tristan's sick.
Only 8 in 10 children with the condition make it to adulthood, and the long-term effects of Dravet's can be severe.
The quality of life for kids that have Dravet syndrome generally is not good. They have serious developmental issues, walking, talking, things like that, just basic stuff that we take for granted. I'd say he was getting about 10 or 11 medications in a day, but he was still having between 15 and 20 seizures a day.
His parents fundraised relentlessly to get Tristan the medical attention they believe he needed. Yvonne and Tristan left last December for the liberal American state of Colorado.
We spoke to researchers in Canada, in Colorado, California. We spoke to parents whose children had the same condition as Tristan.
Yvonne learned a lot from those parents. She says that they started using oils at an older age and weren't helped that much. That's why Yvonne wanted to leave Ireland before Tristan turned 2.
Can you see Daddy?
Yvonne says there's been a dramatic improvement in Tristan since they went to Colorado. She's giving him a high-potency cannabis oil that would be illegal here in Ireland.
So this is whole plant again, so it's got all compounds in it, and he just literally gets drops like that a few times a day so that it stays on a level balance throughout the system.
John and their older son Oscar went over and joined the rest of the family in April, and John too was impressed.
I thought he was a completely different boy in April, but he is nothing compared to what he is now. You know, where he was trying to talk when I was over there, and he was running around and all this kind of stuff, where now he's talking fully, he's counting, he's full of life.
Yay!
For me, I don't worry as much. And I'm a warrior, but I don't worry as much. He can do things that he wants to, you know, playing outside, just little things. And because of cannabis, he can be included in his friends and parties and everything else.
John and Yvonne are convinced that cannabis is the reason Tristan has improved. But it's important to note that there's been no scientifically recognised trial on these treatments. That's the gold standard for any medicine. And most medics remain sceptical in the absence of such trials.
We only know of individual cases. And again, you may say that it's protectionism, it's conservatism, whatever you want to call it, whatever people want to call it. But, you know, our training is strongly against using that sort of anecdotal evidence to treat.
Here in Ireland, cannabis is illegal. It's a controlled substance. Growing, possessing and dealing in cannabis are all offences. 14% of young people in Ireland taking cannabis are at risk of psychosis, according to doctors. It's at the centre of a vicious gang culture and is considered by many professionals to be a gateway drug, the beginning of a debilitating drug dependency. But cannabis is also a fascinating plant of great interest to scientists and medics.
Cannabis produces 85 at least different types of cannabinoids, and they are really important because there is a really sound amount of information and published papers showing the benefits of using them in medicine. They could be used to treat, for example, the symptoms of MS, very acute types of pain, really chronic pain that are very difficult to be treated.
Neurologists are also in favour of more research into cannabis.
I think we need to take a sensible, evidence-based approach to this. We need to know if we're using either the extract or the plant in its entirety, what actually we're doing, what we're allowing onto the market in anywhere in Europe. And we need to regulate that very tightly, because there are potential risks as well, but there are also potential benefits.
Of the many well-understood chemicals in cannabis, two stand out: THC and CBD. THC gives the high that cannabis is famous for. CBD has no such effects, but helps with muscle spasms, amongst other ailments.
There's a company in the UK called GW, which is using cannabinoids as potential therapeutic agents, and they already have one compound on the market for multiple sclerosis, and a second compound has just finished a clinical trial for epilepsy.
Sativex has been licensed in Ireland, but it's not yet available due to a dispute over the price. The other new cannabis-based medicine for epilepsy, Epidiolex, is moving towards licensing. Both are low in THC.
Denver, Colorado. Ground zero for cannabis legalization and home to a booming tech sector in what could be called the Silicon Valley of weed.
In parts of the United States, it's gone a lot further than pharmaceutical products. As many as 24 individual states have legalized cannabis for medical use. But it remains illegal in federal law, which means that people can use it in certain locations, but they can't move between states. Colorado has become a magnet for those who believe cannabis will help their medical conditions, including epilepsy.
State and Colorado, the two first states to usher in.
At a medical cannabis conference here in Dublin, we met American journalist Charlo Green, who became an overnight internet sensation when reporting on the Alaskan Cannabis Club on live television.
To continue to grow the medicine that they need.
Now, everything you heard is why I, the actual owner of the Alaska Cannabis Club, will be dedicating all of my energy toward fighting for freedom and fairness, which begins with legalizing marijuana here in Alaska. And as for this job, well, not that I have a choice, but fuck it, I quit. All right, we apologize for that.
Until then, no one knew that Charlo Green herself was the founder of the Cannabis Club, which helps people to get access to medical marijuana.
No, I love it. I love it.
I met patients in Alaska who were literally dying, school teachers, grandparents, all of them risking their freedom to access medication.
Charlo Green was last week charged on serious drug offences in Alaska. But even that hasn't stopped her campaigning zeal.
I met an Irish citizen, Yvonne Callahan, in Denver, and her son Tristan, two people that had to leave their entire lives behind because he wouldn't have had access to medicine that would have stopped his intense seizures. So the fact that you have your people leaving, fleeing, refugees to the States to try and save their lives, that's not right. It shouldn't sit right with any Irish citizen.
Those who campaign against drugs here differ. Bernie MacDonald fears that legalising cannabis will simply lead to an increase in use. And she says that has been the experience in California, where it's been available for decades.
They're telling us that in all ages in California, use of cannabis has gone up. The trends are very disturbing around the whole proliferation of dispensaries now supplying medical marijuana to communities, to individuals and that. And they have just shot up. It's a huge commercial industry now. But the profile of the medical marijuana user, you know, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. A 32-year-old white male, no history of any sort of life-threatening illness, but a history of drug and alcohol misuse.
In the absence of a liberalised regime, there is still some scope for using cannabis-based products, even here in Ireland. Generally, they have a very low THC content and as a result are of no interest to recreational users. There's simply no buzz. But for years, informal chemists have been putting together products which they believe help people with various ailments, and some have shown promise. The original preparation used to treat the severe symptoms of epilepsy, Charlotte's Web, has been available in Ireland for some time now, and it's perfectly legal. And pharmaceutical companies have become very interested in this product. They've been conducting clinical trials, and a prescription medicine based on this is likely to become available soon.
I'm not just curious, I'm excited that there's a new treatment available for this most difficult form of epilepsy. There's a few final steps to go through to get the drug in a situation that I can write a prescription and they can go down to their community pharmacy, and their community pharmacy can ring up a wholesaler who's just imported it from wherever it's being made, or maybe even made in Ireland, and that person can go and get that treatment and I can monitor it with them.
But this product, when it becomes available, is not high enough in THC to satisfy many. Activists want the whole plant to be legal. A private member's bill before the Dáil would legalise cannabis for specific medical uses. But could this not lead to a wider availability of the drug?
We're only interested in medical cannabis use. So that includes MS, motor neuron disease, pain management, cancer, epilepsy, and those types of cases. We are not interested in any therapeutic or recreational drug use. So therefore, those fears are alleviated by this bill and this approach and this recommendation that we're making.
There's no indication that the bill will succeed. So the high THC products that Tristan is getting in Colorado remain illegal here in Ireland. And doctors are sceptical about their use.
I want to see the safety of that drug, because the more THC that comes in it, the more risk, I think, comes with giving the drug. Because it's the THC, remember, that gives you the high. It's the THC that we know, for the street version, causes psychosis in 14% of users.
For Yvonne and Tristan in Colorado, the clock is ticking.
We definitely will have to leave at the end of the year.
They can't bring the drug with them, but they're hoping that something can be done in Ireland before December comes and they have to come home. The Irish system is not set up for medical cannabis use at present, and there's no sign of the rapid change that Yvonne and John hope for.
Nobody would look at the plight that these poor families are going through and not really care what's going on. The bill is not going to be passed, that's clear. So there isn't going to be wide availability of, the ability to prescribe cannabis medicines by Christmas. So the only question is there going to be a way that some particular ministerial waiver will be available to these people?
For now, Ireland shows no inclination to follow the model of some American states in fully liberalising cannabis use, and the current bill goes too far for many. But people will still want to use cannabis, and the pressure for change will remain.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.